He didn't even look at her face when he signed the divorce papers. 3 years of marriage ended with one signature and an empty stare. "Kendra," he said coldly, "a wife who can't give me children isn't really a wife at all." She didn't cry. She didn't beg. She just whispered, "One day, Damien, you'll need me." And then she walked away. That was 5 years ago. Now, in a hospital room filled with machines and the smell of antiseptic, billionaire CEO Damien Cross lies dying, his once unshakable heart failing, his empire crumbling. And the only surgeon capable of saving him? The woman he threw away like she was nothing. Dr. Kendra Matthews. She stands at his bedside, the same woman he called Barren, now the one who decides if he lives or dies. Her voice is calm, professional. "Your surgery is scheduled for Monday morning, Mr. Cross." He tries to speak, her name, maybe an apology, but the words won't come. Because how do you beg for life from the woman whose soul you destroyed? Kendra turns to leave. But just before she reaches the door, she pauses. Without turning around, she says quietly, "I always keep my promises, Damien." The heart monitor spikes. His breath catches. And for the first time, the man who controlled everything realizes, his life now belongs to the woman he broke. Hello, family. Welcome back to Mr. Harrington Stories. May your week be filled with second chances and the courage to face the past. Because sometimes, the people we hurt the most become the ones we need the most. And sometimes, justice doesn't come with a gavel, it comes with a scalpel. If you're here with us tonight, type present in the comments. Let me know you believe that what goes around always comes back around. That the universe has a way of balancing the scales, even when we think we've gotten away with something. And if you believe in justice served cold, if you believe that people should face the consequences of their actions, even years later, then hit that subscribe button right now. Because karma? She's patient. She's precise. And she never, ever forgets. Tonight's story is about second chances. But it's also about accountability. It's about a woman who rebuilt herself from the ashes of betrayal and a man who's about to learn that some debts can never be repaid, only reckoned with. So settle in, family. Turn off the distractions. Because what you're about to hear is a story that will make you question everything you thought you knew about forgiveness, redemption, and whether some people truly deserve a second chance. Now, let's go back to the moment everything changed. The hospital never sleeps. And tonight, neither would Dr. Kendra Matthews. She walked through those sterile white halls with the confidence of someone who'd earned her place there. White coat. Steady hands. A face that had learned not to show pain in public. 32 years old. One of the best cardiac surgeons in the country. She'd saved 12 lives that week alone. But that was before room 307. Before the nurse handed her a chart with a name she'd spent 5 years trying to forget. Damien Cross. Her ex-husband. The man who divorced her for being barren. And now? He was dying. And she was the only surgeon who could save him. Kendra stood outside his room, staring through the glass at the man lying in that hospital bed. He looked smaller now. Weaker. The billionaire CEO who once controlled everything couldn't even control his own heartbeat. Tubes ran from his arms. Monitors beeped softly. His dark hair was disheveled against the white pillow. Damien Cross, the man who told her she wasn't enough, was completely at her mercy. And for just a moment, Kendra let herself imagine walking away. Letting someone else take the case. Letting karma do what she couldn't. But she'd taken an oath. First, do no harm. Even when harm was exactly what he deserved. She pushed open the door. The room was dim. Quiet except for the machines tracking his failing heart. Damien's eyes were closed. His breathing shallow and uneven. Kendra walked to his bedside and flipped open his chart. Heart rate elevated. Blood pressure unstable. Oxygen levels dropping. The numbers didn't lie. He was dying. Fast. Then his eyes opened. And the world stopped. They stared at each other across 5 years of silence. Across all the words they never said. Across the wreckage of everything they used to be. She saw recognition flash in his eyes. Then shock. Then something that looked like fear. Good, she thought. Let him be afraid. Your valves are deteriorating, she said, her voice clinical and cold. Without surgery, you have 3 to 4 months. With surgery, you have a chance. But it's high risk, complex, and it requires a surgeon with very specific expertise. She paused, letting the weight settle between them. I'm one of 3 surgeons in the country qualified to perform it, and I'm the only one available. Surgery is scheduled for Monday morning. Damien's lips parted, but no sound came out. Finally, he whispered her name. Kendra. His hand twitched on the bed like he wanted to reach for her, but didn't dare. She closed the chart with a sharp snap. It's Dr. Matthews. And you should rest, Mr. Cross. You're going to need your strength. She turned to walk away. But then she heard him speak again, his voice broken and desperate. I didn't know you were here. I didn't know you'd become a surgeon. She didn't turn around. Her hand gripped the door frame. Yes, well, a lot changes in 5 years, Mr. Cross. People grow. People heal. People become who they need to be when the person they loved decides they're not worth keeping. She walked out before he could see her hands shaking, because she'd thought she was over this. Thought seeing him again would be just another patient. Just another case. But she was wrong. Dead wrong. The memory hit her as she stood in the hallway, eyes closed, breathing hard. 5 years ago. Their penthouse. His penthouse, really. She never felt like it was truly hers. She'd been a first-year resident. 27 years old. Exhausted but hopeful. Still believing their marriage could survive the pressure. That night, she'd come home late to find him in his study. Working. Always working. She'd asked him what was wrong. Because something had changed between them. Something cold had crept in. And he'd told her, I need an heir, Kendra. Someone to take over the company. And with your schedule, your career. I don't think you can give me that. She'd tried. God, she'd tried so hard. Rearranged her schedule. Cut back on shifts. Put her dreams on hold. And she tried to get pregnant. 2 years. 2 miscarriages. Endless doctor appointments. Hormone treatments that made her feel like a stranger in her own body. And through it all, Damien grew more distant. More disappointed. More convinced she was failing him. The morning he left, she was still in bed. Still recovering from the second miscarriage. Her body aching. Her heart shattered. Her hope bleeding away. He'd walked in with his lawyer and a stack of papers. I can't do this anymore, he'd said, his voice flat. I need someone who can give me what I need. It's time to move on. He signed the papers without looking at her face. Without holding her hand. Without acknowledging that he was ending her while she was still trying to pick up the pieces of their lost child. Kendra had signed too. Because what choice did she have? You can't force someone to love you. You can't make someone see your worth when they've already decided you have none. So she signed. Packed her things. Moved into a tiny apartment that smelled like broken dreams. And she made a choice. Let this destroy her. Or let it rebuild her. She chose to be rebuilt. Dr. Matthews? Kendra's eyes snapped open. Sarah, the night nurse, stood in front of her looking concerned. Are you okay? You look pale. I'm fine, Kendra said automatically. Just tired. Sarah nodded, but didn't look convinced. The board wants to meet with you tomorrow. 9 a.m. They're calling the Cross case the most important surgery this hospital has performed in a decade. Of course they are, Kendra murmured. Because it wasn't enough that she had to save his life. Now she had to do it under the microscope of the entire medical board. She walked away before Sarah could ask more questions. Her mind already racing to Monday morning. To the moment she'd stand over Damien Cross's open chest with a scalpel in her hand. She'd taken an oath. First, do no harm. But what happened when saving someone's life meant reopening wounds in your own heart that had never properly healed? She didn't have an answer. Not yet. 3 days passed. Kendra threw herself into surgical planning. Reviewed his scans a dozen times. Consulted with cardiologists. Assembled her team. But she didn't go back to room 307. She couldn't. Every time she walked past that hallway, the old questions crept back in. Why wasn't I enough? What was wrong with me? Could I have done something differently? She knew those questions were poison. She'd spent 5 years in therapy learning to silence them. Learning that his rejection wasn't her failure. That his inability to love her wasn't a reflection of her worth. But knowing something and feeling it were two different things. Saturday night. 2 days before the surgery. Kendra was in her office reviewing Damien's latest blood work when someone knocked. "Come in," she called without looking up. The door opened. And a voice she hadn't heard in 5 years, not like this, spoke her name. Kendra. Not Dr. Matthews. Just her name. Like it meant something. She looked up slowly. Damien stood in her doorway in a hospital gown and robe, and 4-pole beside him. He looked weak. Unsteady. Like it had taken everything he had to walk down that hall. "You shouldn't be out of bed," she said calmly. "Your heart can't handle the exertion." "I needed to talk to you," he said. "And you won't come to my room. So I came to you." Kendra set down her pen. "Mr. Cross, anything you need to discuss can wait until after surgery. Right now, you need to rest." "Don't do that," he said quietly, stepping into her office. "Don't hide behind formality. It's me, Kendra. It's still me." She stood, her hands pressed flat against her desk. "No, it's not. The man I knew wouldn't be here. The man I knew walked away without looking back." Damien flinched like she'd struck him. I know I don't have the right to ask you for anything. But I need you to hear me say it. I was wrong." The words hung in the air. Fragile and heavy. Kendra felt something crack inside her chest. Something she'd kept locked away for 5 years. She looked at him. Really looked. And saw the weight of regret in his eyes. The way his shoulders sagged. The tremor in his hands that had nothing to do with his failing heart. "You were wrong," she said softly. "You were wrong about me. Wrong about us. Wrong about what mattered. And you know what the worst part is?" He shook his head, his eyes never leaving hers. "The worst part is that you didn't just leave me. You made me believe I was broken. That my body was defective. That I wasn't worthy of love because I couldn't give you what you wanted." Her voice cracked, but she kept going. "I spent years trying to put myself back together after you destroyed me." "I'm sorry," he whispered. "God, Kendra, I'm so sorry." She walked around her desk. Stopped a few feet away. Close enough to see the tears in his eyes. "You don't get to apologize now," she said. "Not when it takes a dying heart to make you remember mine." Damien's jaw tightened. His hands clenched into fists. "I'm not apologizing because I'm dying. I'm apologizing because I finally understand what I threw away. I've spent 5 years trying to fill the hole you left, and nothing has ever come close." He took a shaky breath. "I'm asking you to let me live long enough to earn a real apology. To prove I'm not the same man who walked away." Kendra's breath caught. She told herself she'd moved on. Forgiven. Forgotten. But standing there, inches from the man who'd shattered her, she realized something terrifying. She still felt something. And she hated herself for it. Because it would be so much easier if she felt nothing. If she could operate with cold detachment and walk away. But she couldn't. Part of her still remembered what it felt like to love him. Still remembered the man he'd been before ambition consumed him. And that part was screaming at her to be careful. To protect herself. To remember what he did and never let him close enough to do it again. "You should go back to your room," she said, stepping back. "Monday morning is going to be a long day for both of us." She turned away, dismissing him. But Damien didn't leave. He stood there for a long moment, the silence stretching between them. Finally, he spoke. "One more thing." "What?" "Thank you. For not refusing the case. For being a better person than I ever was." Kendra closed her eyes, her hands gripping the desk. "Don't thank me yet. We don't know if you're going to survive Monday. And if I do, then maybe," she whispered, "you'll finally understand what it feels like to be given a second chance you don't deserve." The door closed quietly. Kendra stood alone in her office, trembling with emotions she couldn't name. Because Monday morning would change everything. When you hold someone's life in your hands, someone who once held your heart and chose to break it, you're forced to answer a question most people never face. Can you save the person who destroyed you? And more importantly, should you? But there was something Damien didn't know. Something Kendra had kept hidden for 5 years. A secret that would change everything if it ever came to light. Because 2 weeks after he left her, after he said she could never have children, after he walked away from their marriage, Kendra found out she was pregnant. And this time, her body didn't fail her. She had a daughter now. A beautiful 4-year-old girl with his eyes and her smile. A child he said was impossible. A child whose existence proved he was wrong about everything. Her name was Maya. And Damian Cross had no idea she existed. Monday morning was coming. And Dr. Kendra Matthews was about to make the most impossible choice of her life. Save the man who destroyed her. Or let karma do its work. Either way, nothing would ever be the same. So here's my question for you, family. If you were in Kendra's position, if the person who broke your heart was now completely at your mercy, what would you do? Would you save them? Give them the second chance they're begging for? Or would you walk away and let the universe balance the scales? Drop your answer below. Because Act 2 is coming. And you won't believe what happens when Victoria finds out about Maya. That night, Kendra drove home in silence. No radio. No distractions. Just the hum of the engine and the weight of everything she'd been carrying for 5 years pressing down on her chest. Her apartment was on the opposite side of the city from the hospital. A 40-minute drive through streets that glittered with rain and streetlights. Nothing like the penthouse she used to live in. No marble floors or floor-to-ceiling windows. No view of the city skyline that made you feel like you owned the world. But it was hers. Every piece of furniture she'd chosen. Every dish in the cabinet she'd bought. Every corner of that small space belonged to her and no one else. And inside, someone was waiting. Someone who made every sacrifice, every sleepless night, every moment of pain worth it. Kendra unlocked the door and stepped inside. The living room was small but warm. Toys scattered across the carpet. Crayons and coloring books on the coffee table. A half-finished puzzle spread out on the floor. And there, sitting cross-legged in front of the TV watching cartoons, was a little girl with curly hair pulled into 2 puffs and bright eyes that lit up the moment she heard the door open. "Mommy." The girl scrambled to her feet and ran across the room, her tiny feet padding against the hardwood floor. Kendra dropped her bag and caught her daughter in her arms, lifting her up and holding her tight. So tight. Like she was the only thing keeping her tethered to the earth. "Hi, baby," Kendra whispered into her daughter's hair. "I missed you so much. I missed you too. Did you save people today, Mommy? Did you make them all better?" Kendra pulled back just enough to look into her daughter's face. Maya. 4 years old. Curly hair like hers. Deep brown eyes like his. A smile that could light up the darkest room. She had Damian's sharp intelligence. The way she asked questions constantly, always curious, always wanting to understand how things worked. But she had Kendra's warmth. Her resilience. Her ability to find joy even when the world felt heavy. "I did, baby," Kendra said softly, brushing a curl away from Maya's forehead. "I saved someone very important today. Are they gonna be okay?" Kendra's throat tightened. "I hope so, sweetheart. I really hope so." Mrs. Chun, Kendra's neighbor, a kind elderly woman who watched Maya whenever Kendra's shifts ran late, emerged from the kitchen with a gentle smile. She was a good girl tonight. Ate all her dinner. Finished her homework. Only asked for you about 17 times. Kendra smiled, setting Maya down. "Thank you, Mrs. Chun. I don't know what I'd do without you. You'd manage, dear. You always do." Mrs. Chun collected her purse and cardigan from the couch. "Same time tomorrow?" "Yes, please." "And Mrs. Chen? I might need you to keep your phone on Monday. I have a big surgery, and I need to know she's safe." Mrs. Chen's eyes softened with understanding. "She'll be with me. Don't you worry." After Mrs. Chen left, Kendra locked the door and turned back to find Maya holding up a drawing. "Look what I made." It was a picture of 2 stick figures. One tall with curly hair. One small with curly hair. Both smiling. Both holding hands. "That's you and me," Maya explained proudly. "We're superheroes. You save people and I save cats from trees." Kendra felt tears prick her eyes. She knelt down to Maya's level. "It's beautiful, baby. You're so talented." Maya beamed. "Can we put it on the fridge?" "Absolutely." Later, after Maya was bathed and tucked into bed, Kendra sat on the edge of her daughter's mattress and watched her drift off to sleep. The room was small. A twin bed with a purple comforter. Glow-in-the-dark stars on the ceiling. Stuffed animals lined up against the wall. Simple. Safe. Theirs. Kendra brushed her fingers through Maya's curls, so much like her own, and felt the familiar ache in her chest. Because every time she looked at her daughter, she saw him. Those eyes. That smile. The way Maya tilted her head when she was thinking hard about something. Damien didn't know. He had no idea that 2 weeks after he walked out, 2 weeks after he told her she could never have children, after he made her feel broken and worthless, she'd found out she was pregnant. And this time, her body didn't fail her. This time, she carried full term. Gave birth to a healthy, perfect baby girl who screamed her way into the world like she was already demanding to be heard. Kendra had stood at a crossroads then. Tell him. Let him know he had a daughter. Give him the chance to be a father. Or keep Maya a secret. Protect her from the man who'd already proven he didn't know how to love without conditions. She chose protection. Because Maya deserved better than a father who might look at her the same way he'd looked at Kendra, like a project that didn't deliver the expected results. Maya deserved unconditional love. And Kendra would die before she let anyone make her daughter feel less than enough. But now Damien was back. Not by choice. Not because he'd come looking for her or changed his mind or realized what he'd thrown away. He was back because he was dying. And Monday morning, Kendra would stand over his open chest with a scalpel in her hand and the power to save him or let him slip away. And if he survived? If he made it through surgery and started asking questions about her life, her choices, the 4 years she'd spent rebuilding herself? Eventually, he'd find out about Maya. And everything would change. Kendra leaned down and kissed her daughter's forehead. Sleep tight, baby girl. Mommy's got you. Always. She stood, turned off the light, and closed the door softly behind her. In the hallway, she pressed her back against the wall and closed her eyes. Because the secret she'd been protecting for 4 years was about to become impossible to hide. And she had no idea what that would cost her. Across the city, in a luxury hotel suite overlooking the harbor, Victoria Lane sat at a polished mahogany desk with her laptop open and a glass of wine in her hand. She wasn't sleeping tonight either. Victoria was 34. Blonde. Beautiful in the calculated way of someone who'd spent years perfecting her image. She knew how to walk into a room and command attention. Knew how to smile and make powerful men feel like they'd won something. She'd been dating Damien for 2 years. Engaged for 6 months. And she'd spent every single day of that relationship positioning herself to become the next Mrs. Cross. But now his ex-wife was back. The woman he'd divorced. The woman he'd supposedly moved on from. And Victoria could see it in his eyes when he looked at Dr. Kendra Matthews. He still felt something. Victoria took a slow sip of wine, her jaw tight. She hadn't clawed her way to the top of New York's social scene just to lose to some doctor with a savior complex. So she'd made a call. Hired a private investigator. Someone discreet. Someone who knew how to dig up dirt without leaving fingerprints. Find me something, she told him coldly. Something that proves she's unfit to operate. Something that disqualifies her. I don't care what it is. Just find it. 48 hours later, her phone buzzed. A text from the investigator. 3 words. Check your email. Victoria opened her laptop. Clicked on the new message. And there attached were a series of high-resolution photographs. Kendra Matthews. Outside a preschool. Holding the hand of a little girl. Victoria's eyes narrowed. She clicked through the photos one by one. The girl was young. 4, maybe 5. Curly hair. Bright smile. Holding a lunchbox covered in cartoon characters. And in one photo, zoomed in perfectly clear, the girl was looking up at Kendra with absolute adoration. Victoria's phone rang. The investigator. She answered. Who is she? The investigator's voice was flat, professional. Her daughter. Name's Maya. 4 years old. Attends Bright Futures preschool on the east side. Birth certificate lists Kendra Matthews as the mother. No father listed. Victoria felt her pulse quicken. How old did you say? 4. 4 years old. Victoria did the math in her head. Damien divorced Kendra 5 years ago. If the girl was 4, she got pregnant right after he left her. Or maybe even before. Victoria leaned back in her chair, a slow smile spreading across her face. Because this wasn't just leverage. This was a nuclear bomb. "Send me everything you have," Victoria said quietly. "Every document. Every photo. Every piece of information you can find on that child. Already in your inbox." Victoria hung up and stared at the screen. Because she just found exactly what she needed to destroy Dr. Kendra Matthews. And more importantly, to make sure Damien never looked at his ex-wife with regret again. Monday morning came too fast. Kendra stood in the surgical prep room at 4 a.m., scrubbing her hands with methodical precision. The water was hot. The soap antibacterial. The ritual so familiar she could do it with her eyes closed. But today, her mind was somewhere else. Maya had cried that morning when Kendra dropped her off at Mrs. Chen's early. Not a tantrum. Just tears. Just her small voice saying, "I don't want you to go, Mommy." Kendra had held her, kissed her forehead, promised she'd be home for dinner. But the guilt still sat heavy in her chest. Because what if something went wrong? What if she lost focus for 1 second and made a mistake? What if the surgery failed and Damien died and everyone blamed her? What if someone found out about Maya and used her to destroy everything Kendra had built? Dr. Matthews? Kendra looked up. Her surgical nurse, a woman named Patricia with 20 years of experience, stood in the doorway. "We're ready for you." Kendra dried her hands and pulled on her surgical gloves with steady, practiced movements. She could do this. She'd done it 12 times that week alone. This was just another surgery. Just another patient. Except it wasn't. And they both knew it. The operating room was cold. Sterile. Bright lights overhead. Machines lined up along the walls, each one monitoring a different vital sign. Damien was already on the table. Unconscious. Intubated. His chest exposed and prepped for the incision. Kendra's surgical team was assembled. Anesthesiologist. Nurses. Surgical assistants. Everyone in their positions. Everyone waiting for her. She stepped up to the table. Looked down at Damien's face, peaceful now, unaware. This was the man who'd broken her heart. The man who'd made her believe she wasn't enough. And now his life was completely in her hands. "Scalpel," she said calmly. Patricia placed the instrument in her palm. Cool. Familiar. Precise. Kendra positioned the blade over Damien's chest. Took a breath. And her phone buzzed. She froze. Patricia frowned. "Dr. Matthews?" Kendra's eyes flicked to the pocket of her scrubs where her phone was vibrating. Once. Twice. 3 times. A text message. "It's probably nothing," Kendra said. "Let's proceed." But her phone buzzed again. And again. "Someone really wants to reach you," Patricia said carefully. Kendra's stomach dropped. She pulled off one glove, reached into her pocket, and looked at the screen. Unknown number. One message. "Operate, and you'll never see your daughter again." The room tilted. Kendra's breath caught. Her hands, steady for 12 lives that week, began to shake. The scalpel hovered over Damien's chest. The team waited. The monitors beeped. And Kendra stared at those words on her screen like they were a death sentence. "Operate, and you'll never see your daughter again." Someone knew. Someone knew about Maya. And they were threatening her. "Dr. Matthews?" The anesthesiologist leaned forward, concerned. "Are you ready?" Kendra looked up. Looked around at her team. At Damien lying unconscious and vulnerable on the table. She thought about Maya. Safe with Mrs. Chen. Or was she? She thought about walking out right now. Refusing the surgery. Protecting her daughter at all costs. But then she looked down at Damien's chest. At the incision site marked in blue ink. At the failing heart beneath his ribs that had maybe hours left if she didn't act. She closed her eyes. Took a breath. And made the choice that would haunt her for the rest of her life. "I'm ready," she said quietly. "Let's begin." She made the incision. 6 hours. The surgery took 6 hours. And every single second, Kendra's mind was screaming. Where is Maya? Is she safe? Who sent that message? What if it's real? What if someone took her? What if I finish this surgery and she's gone? But her hands didn't shake. Her focus didn't waver. Because she was Dr. Kendra Matthews. And when she was in the OR, nothing else existed. Not fear. Not doubt. Not even the terror clawing at her chest. She worked with absolute precision. Every cut clean. Every stitch perfect. Every vessel clamped and controlled. She replaced Damien's damaged valves with synthetic ones. Repaired the deteriorating tissue. Stabilized his heart rhythm. Closed him up layer by layer until his chest was whole again. At 12:17 p.m., she stepped back from the table. "He's stable," she said, her voice steady despite the storm inside her. "Vitals are strong. Heart rhythm normal. He's going to make it." The team exhaled collectively. Patricia smiled. "Beautiful work, Dr. Matthews." Kendra pulled off her gloves, her mask, her surgical cap, and the moment she was out of the OR, she ran. Down the hallway. Past nurses and patients and visitors who stared as she sprinted by in her scrubs. She ripped her phone from her pocket and dialed Mrs. Chen's number with trembling fingers. It rang once, twice, 3 times. No answer. "No," Kendra whispered. "No, no, no." She called again. 4 rings. 5. 6. "Please pick up. Please." Finally, the line connected. "Kendra?" Mrs. Chen's voice was calm, confused. "What's wrong, dear?" Kendra collapsed against the wall, her legs giving out, her breath coming in ragged gasps. "Is Maya okay?" She choked out. "Is she with you? Is she safe?" "Of course she is. She's right here eating mac and cheese. We just finished reading. Can I talk to her? Please, I need to hear her voice." A pause. Then Maya's sweet, innocent voice came through the speaker. "Hi, Mommy. Are you coming home soon?" Kendra sobbed, actually sobbed, tears streaming down her face in the middle of that hospital hallway. "Yes, baby. Yes, I'm coming home soon. I love you so much." "I love you too, Mommy." Mrs. Chen came back on the line. "Kendra, what happened? Are you all right?" "I'm fine," Kendra lied. "I'm fine. I'll explain later." "Thank you, Mrs. Chen. Thank you." She hung up and pressed her forehead against her knees, shaking. Maya was safe. The threat was fake. But someone had sent it. Someone knew about her daughter. And someone wanted to scare her badly enough to threaten the one thing she loved more than her own life. Who? And why? Hours later, Kendra stood in the recovery room, watching the monitors track Damien's vitals. He was still unconscious. Still intubated. But stable. Strong. Alive. She'd saved him. Against every instinct screaming at her to walk away, she'd saved him. And now she had to live with that choice. "Victoria," Kendra said quietly without turning around. Because she'd felt her the moment she walked into the room. Felt the cold, calculated presence of a woman who'd do anything to win. Victoria stepped up beside her, placing a perfectly manicured hand on Damien's shoulder. "Darling, you made it," Victoria cooed, even though Damien couldn't hear her. She turned to Kendra with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Dr. Matthews is a true professional, isn't she?" Kendra met her gaze. And in that moment, she knew. Victoria sent the message. Victoria knew about Maya. And Victoria was declaring war. "Mr. Cross will need close monitoring for the next 48 hours, Kendra said, her voice clinical and controlled. "Any complications, call me immediately." She turned to leave. But before she reached the door, she stopped. Looked back. "When he's stronger, we need to talk." Damien stirred slightly, his eyes still closed. "About what?" Victoria asked, her voice sharp. Kendra's eyes locked on Victoria's. "About the truth." She walked out, leaving Victoria standing there with fury simmering beneath her perfect smile. Because the war had begun. And Kendra wasn't about to let anyone, not Victoria, not Damien, not anyone, threaten her daughter. Not now. Not ever. "So here's what I need to know, family. Do you think Kendra should tell Damien about Maya? Should she let him into their daughter's life after everything he did? Or should she keep that secret buried and protect Maya from a man who might break her heart the same way he broke Kendra's? Because Act 3 is coming. And when the truth finally comes out, nothing will ever be the same. Drop your answer below. And get ready. because this story is about to explode. 2 days after the surgery, Kendra was leaving the hospital at midnight when she heard footsteps behind her in the parking garage. She turned. Victoria Lane stood under the flickering fluorescent lights, arms crossed, her perfectly styled blonde hair pulled back into a sleek ponytail. Designer coat. Expensive heels clicking against the concrete. And a smile that could cut glass. "Dr. Matthews," Victoria said smoothly. "We need to talk." Kendra's hand tightened around her car keys. "I have nothing to say to you, Ms. Lane." "Oh, I think you do." Victoria took a step closer. Her voice dropped to something cold and sharp. "I know about your daughter." The parking garage seemed to tilt. Kendra's breath caught. Her heart hammered against her ribs. Victoria's smile widened. "Maya, isn't it? 4 years old. Curly hair. Attends Bright Futures preschool on the east side. Such a sweet little girl." Kendra's blood turned to ice. "Stay away from her." "Or what?" Victoria laughed. It was a cruel sound. Empty of warmth. "You'll do what, exactly? You've already saved Damien's life. You've already proven you're the better person. But here's the thing, Dr. Matthews, I don't care about better. I care about winning." She stepped closer. Close enough that Kendra could smell her perfume. Something expensive and suffocating. "So here's what's going to happen," Victoria said quietly. "You're going to step away from Damien. No more late-night visits to his room. No more meaningful looks. No more whatever pathetic connection you think you still have with him. You're going to finish his post-op care, sign off on his discharge papers, and disappear from his life. Forever. And if I don't?" Kendra's voice was steady despite the terror clawing at her throat. Victoria tilted her head. "Then I'll make sure he knows about Maya. And I'll make sure he takes her from you. You wouldn't. Try me." Victoria's eyes glittered with malice. "Damien Cross is one of the most powerful men in this city. He has lawyers on retainer who could drown you in custody battles for years. He has resources you can't even imagine. And he has something you don't, biological rights." She leaned in, her voice a whisper. "You hid his daughter from him for 4 years. That's parental alienation, Dr. Matthews. A judge won't look kindly on that. Especially when they find out you had multiple opportunities to tell him and chose not to." Kendra felt the world closing in around her. "You already won. You have him. Why are you doing this?" Victoria's mask slipped. Just for a second. And beneath it was something raw and ugly and desperate. "Because as long as you're alive, I'll never really have him. He still thinks about you. I see it in his eyes every time someone mentions your name. Every time he looks at me and I know, he's wishing I was you." Her voice cracked. Just slightly. But enough. "So no," Victoria said, pulling herself back together. "I haven't won. Not yet. But I will. One way or another." She turned and walked away, her heels echoing through the empty garage. Leaving Kendra standing there, trembling, realizing that this wasn't just about Damien anymore. This was about erasing her completely. And Victoria would burn the whole world down to do it. Kendra didn't sleep that night. She sat on the couch in her dark apartment, staring at nothing, her mind racing through every possible scenario. If she told Damien about Maya, he'd want to be involved. Want custody. Want to make up for lost time. And Victoria would twist it. Make it look like Kendra had been vindictive. Selfish. Cruel. But if she kept quiet, Victoria would tell him anyway. And then it would be worse. Because then he'd know Kendra had another chance to be honest and chose to hide it again. There was no winning move. Every path led to losing Maya. Or losing control. Or losing herself all over again. Unless Kendra stood. Walked to Maya's bedroom. Watched her daughter sleep peacefully, clutching her favorite stuffed bunny. Unless she told him first. On her terms. With her truth. Before Victoria could poison it. Because Maya deserved better than to be a weapon in someone else's war. And Damien, whatever else he'd done, whatever pain he'd caused, deserved to know he had a daughter. Even if it destroyed everything Kendra had built to protect them both. The next morning, Kendra walked into Damien's hospital room with her heart pounding and her hands cold. He was sitting up in bed now. Color returning to his face. Strength coming back to his body. The monitors showed steady vitals. Strong rhythm. He was healing. Because she'd saved him. And now she was about to shatter him. Damien looked up when she entered. His expression softened. Kendra. I didn't think you were on rounds today. I'm not. She closed the door behind her. Locked it. We need to talk. He frowned. Is something wrong? Did something happen with the surgery? No. The surgery was perfect. You're healing exactly as expected. She took a breath. Steadied herself. This isn't about your heart, Damien. It's about mine. He went very still. Watching her. Waiting. You said you wanted to earn an apology, Kendra continued, her voice shaking. You said you wanted a chance to prove you've changed. Here's your chance. She pulled out her phone. Opened her photos. Found the one she'd taken just last week. Maya at the park, laughing, her curls wild in the wind, her smile so bright it could light up the world. Kendra held out the phone. This is what you left behind. Damien stared at the screen. His face went pale. His hands started to shake. That's... His voice broke. That's your daughter, Kendra finished quietly. Her name is Maya. She's 4 years old. And she's the reason I became a surgeon. Because I had to give her the life you took from me. Damien couldn't look away from the photo. His eyes filled with tears. Spilled over. When? 2 weeks after you left. I found out I was pregnant 2 weeks after you served me with divorce papers and told me I could never have children. Kendra's voice was steady now. Matter of fact. Like she was reciting medical history. Ironic, isn't it? The body you said was broken gave me the most perfect thing I've ever had. Why didn't you tell me? Damien finally looked up at her. And the devastation in his eyes was so complete, so absolute, that for a moment Kendra almost felt sorry for him. Almost. Because you said I wasn't enough, she said simply. You said a wife who couldn't give you children wasn't a wife at all. So when I found out I was pregnant, when my body did exactly what you said it couldn't do, I had a choice. Tell you and let you back into my life. Or protect my daughter from a man who'd already proven he didn't know how to love without conditions. She took the phone back. Slipped it into her pocket. I chose her. I chose protection. And I'd do it again. Can I meet her? Damien's voice was barely a whisper. Broken. Desperate. Kendra felt something crack inside her chest. I don't know if you've earned that yet. Please. His hands clenched into fists against the hospital blanket. Please, Kendra. I know I don't deserve it. I know I destroyed us. But she's my daughter. She's mine, Kendra interrupted sharply. She's been mine for 4 years. I carried her. I gave birth to her. I stayed up all night when she was sick. I taught her to walk and talk and read. I held her when she cried and celebrated every milestone and built a life for us from nothing. You don't get to walk in now and claim her just because you share DNA. Damien flinched like she'd struck him. You're right. You're absolutely right. His voice cracked. I just want a chance. That's all I'm asking for. A chance to know her. To be part of her life. To be the father I should have been from the beginning. Kendra looked at him. Really looked. And saw something she hadn't expected. Genuine remorse. Genuine pain. Genuine understanding that he'd thrown away something irreplaceable and could never get it back. But was that enough? Was remorse enough to risk her daughter's heart? Before she could answer, the door burst open. Victoria stood in the doorway, her face twisted with fury. She'd heard everything. How touching, Victoria said, her voice dripping with venom. The happy reunion. The tearful confession. Very dramatic, Dr. Matthews. You should win an award. Get out, Damien said quietly, not taking his eyes off Kendra. But Victoria didn't move. She pulled her phone from her purse. I've already called your lawyer, Damien. Told him everything. About the child. About Kendra hiding her from you for 4 years. About your rights as a biological father. What? Damien's head snapped toward her. Victoria smiled. Someone had to protect your interests. Since you clearly weren't thinking straight. That child is yours, Damien. You have a right to her. And Dr. Matthews here committed parental alienation. It's illegal in this state. A judge will see that. You did what? Damien's voice was low. Dangerous. I filed for custody on your behalf. Full custody. The paperwork will be served to Dr. Matthews within 48 hours. Kendra's world tilted. You can't. Oh, I can. And I did. Victoria turned to her with cold satisfaction. You should have taken my deal, doctor. Now you're going to lose everything. Get out. Damien's roar echoed through the hospital room. He stood, too fast, still weak, and the monitors started beeping in alarm. Get out of this room. Get out of this hospital. Get out of my life. We're done, Victoria. Done. Victoria blinked. Her confidence faltered. You don't mean that. I've never meant anything more. Damien's hands were shaking. His face was pale. But his voice was steel. You went behind my back. You used my daughter, a daughter I just found out existed, as a weapon. You threatened the woman who saved my life. You're toxic. You're cruel. And I'm done. Damien. I said get out. Victoria stood there for one long moment. Her perfect mask cracking. Crumbling. Then she turned and walked out, slamming the door behind her. The room fell into heavy silence. Damien sank back onto the bed, breathing hard. The monitors were still beeping. A nurse rushed in, concerned. I'm fine, Damien said roughly. Just give us a minute. The nurse looked at Kendra. Kendra nodded. It's okay. I've got him. The nurse left reluctantly. And Kendra and Damien were alone again. I didn't know, Damien said hoarsely. I swear to God, Kendra, I didn't know she was going to do that. Kendra sank into the chair beside his bed. Her legs wouldn't hold her anymore. I saved your life. And this is how you repay me? No. Damien's voice was fierce. Desperate. No, this isn't. I'm dropping the lawsuit. Right now. I'm calling my lawyer and telling him to kill it. I don't want to take her from you. I would never. Then what do you want? He looked at her. And the vulnerability in his eyes was so raw it hurt to see. I just want a chance to know her. To be the father I should have been. To earn the right to be in her life. I'm not asking for custody. I'm not asking for rights. I'm just asking for a chance. Kendra closed her eyes. You broke me, Damien. You made me feel like I wasn't enough. Like my body was defective. Like I didn't deserve love because I couldn't give you what you wanted. I know. His voice cracked. And I'll spend the rest of my life trying to make up for that. Not because I'm dying. Not because I want something from you. But because you deserved better then and you deserve better now. Kendra opened her eyes. Looked at him. And for the first time in 5 years, she saw the man she'd fallen in love with. Buried beneath the arrogance and the pride and the ambition. Still there. Broken. Changed. But there. You don't get to be her father overnight, she said quietly. You have to earn it. One day at a time. Supervised visits. My rules. And if you ever make her feel the way you made me feel, I will take her and disappear and you will never see us again. Do you understand? Damien nodded, tears streaming down his face. I understand. Thank you. Thank you, Kendra. I'm not doing this for you. Her voice was firm. I'm doing this for her. Because she deserves to know her father. Even if he doesn't deserve to know her. I know. And I promise, I swear, I'll spend every day proving I can be worthy of her. Kendra stood. You start therapy. You fix whatever's broken inside you that made you think love was conditional. And when you're ready, really ready, I'll introduce you to your daughter. Damien looked up at her. How will I know when I'm ready? When you understand that being a parent isn't about what your child can give you. It's about what you're willing to give them. Unconditionally. Without expectations. Without demands. She walked to the door. Paused. And when you can look at Maya and love her just for existing, not for what she represents or what she might become, then you'll be ready. 6 months later. The park was alive with the sounds of children playing. Swings creaking. Laughter echoing. The smell of fresh-cut grass and summer sunshine. Maya ran ahead, her curls bouncing, her bright yellow dress fluttering in the breeze. Higher, Daddy. Push me higher. Damien stood behind the swing, pushing gently, his face lit up with a smile Kendra had never seen before. Something soft. Something pure. Something that had nothing to do with business or ambition or control. He'd kept his promise. Therapy twice a week. He'd even sold his company, walked away from the empire he'd built, to focus on healing. Emotionally. Physically. Spiritually. And every Saturday for 6 months, he'd shown up at the park. On time. With patience. With love. Building a relationship with his daughter one swing push at a time. Kendra sat on a bench nearby, watching. She hadn't forgiven him. Not fully. Maybe she never would. But she'd made peace with something more important than forgiveness. She'd made peace with the fact that healing doesn't mean forgetting. It means choosing, every single day, not to let the past control your future. Damien walked over after a while, leaving Maya to play on the jungle gym with other kids. He sat down beside Kendra, keeping a respectful distance. Thank you. For today. For every Saturday. For giving me this chance. Kendra didn't look at him. I'm not doing it for you. I know. He smiled softly. You're doing it for her. And that's exactly why you're an amazing mother. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment. Then Damien spoke again, his voice quiet. I used to think love was about control. About building something perfect and maintaining it. But Maya taught me something I should have learned a long time ago. What's that? That love isn't about control. It's about showing up. Even when it's hard. Even when you're scared. Even when you don't know what you're doing. He looked at Kendra. You showed up for her every single day for 4 years. You showed up for me when I was dying, even though I didn't deserve it. And you're showing up now, giving me a chance I definitely don't deserve. Kendra finally turned to look at him. You're right. You don't deserve it. But Maya does. She deserves a father who will show up for her. Who will love her unconditionally. Who will never make her feel like she has to earn his approval. She will never feel that way, Damien said fiercely. I promise you that. I will love her exactly as she is. For the rest of my life. Good. Because if you ever break that promise, Damien, if you ever hurt her the way you hurt me, you'll make me disappear. I know. And you should. Maya came running back, breathless and laughing. Mommy. Daddy. Can we get ice cream? Kendra looked at Damien. Then at her daughter. Then back at Damien. What do you think, Mr. Cross? Do we have time for ice cream? Damien's eyes softened. I have all the time in the world. They walked through the park together, not a family, not yet, maybe never in the traditional sense. But something. Something healing. Something real. And as Maya reached up to hold both their hands, skipping between them, Kendra realized something profound. Justice isn't always about revenge. Sometimes it's about choosing who gets to stay in your story. Sometimes it's about teaching someone what love really means by showing them what it costs when they throw it away. And sometimes, just sometimes, it's about giving second chances to people who finally learned they were wrong. Not because they deserve it, but because you deserve peace. So here's what I want to know, family. If someone who broke your heart wanted a second chance, if they genuinely changed, gone to therapy, proven through action not just words that they understood what they'd done wrong, would you give it to them? Or is some damage just too deep to heal? Would you choose forgiveness? Or would you choose to walk away and never look back? Because here's the truth. There's no right answer. Only your answer. Kendra chose to let Damien try. Not for him. But for Maya. And for herself. Because holding on to anger is like carrying a stone in your pocket every day. Eventually, it wears you down. And sometimes, putting the stone down doesn't mean the person who hurt you deserves forgiveness. It means you deserve freedom. Sometimes, the person who hurt you the most becomes the one who teaches you how strong you really are. How capable you are of rebuilding yourself from ashes. How deserving you are of love that doesn't come with conditions. And sometimes, justice isn't about revenge. It's about choosing who gets to stay in your story, and who doesn't. Kendra chose to let Damien stay. In the margins. On her terms. With boundaries as strong as steel. And in doing so, she taught her daughter something more valuable than any amount of money or power could buy. That you can be kind without being weak. that you can give second chances without giving away your power, and that sometimes, the bravest thing you can do is choose healing over hatred, even when hatred would be so much easier. Thank you for being here with me tonight, family. Thank you for listening to Kendra's story, for feeling her pain, for celebrating her strength. And thank you for being part of this community, a place where we don't judge people for their choices, but support them in making the choices that are right for them. Until next time, may your heart always know its worth. May you always remember that you are enough, exactly as you are. And may you never ever settle for love that makes you question that truth. Stay blessed, family. And I'll see you in the next story.